Hey everybody, welcome back to the Brandy Yvonne channel. Of course, I'm your girl Brandy Yvonne. Here at my channel, we do fun reviews, recaps, and discussions of all of our favorite shows. Sorry, y'all, I'm getting situated. Anyway, we are here to talk about OWN's Love and Marriage Huntsville, child. What is it? Season 10, episode 3. I think it's titled More or Less the Favorite. Anyway, before we get into it, hit that thumbs up button, y'all. Subscribe to the channel. It's still a growing channel over here. Make sure you comment down below. Let me know what y'all thought of this episode and share the video where you like to share your content. I will say I thought this episode was good. I enjoyed the discussion about Jalen not feeling like Maurice was really his father figure like that. And I have questions and concerns. Anyway, let's get into the episode. We may, go scene by scene. We may jump around, just follow me. Also, I know I owe y'all a video for And Just Like That, so I'll do that after this. As far as the new show goes, what is it called? Heart and Hustle Houston. I'm on the fence. I watched the episode last night. It was cool. It was interesting enough. I'm just not sure what the point of the show is. Like, I could never get into like Bad Girls Club because I didn't understand the point of the show. Like, so the girls in the house together to fight. I guess that's the point, right? So I don't know. This show, it doesn't look like it's gonna be too much drama and chaos. But then again, maybe it will. I don't know. But we'll see. I might wait a week for that show to see if it's worth me reviewing. I just don't know. I just don't know, y'all. Anyway, but if y'all watching it, y'all want me to review it, let me know in the comments. So at least that will make me want to consider it more. Anyway, let's get into the. Before I get started, I'm gonna have my phone on because a little Instacart order. Y'all know I be ordering, okay, because I can't drive. So due to my eyesight. So, I be ordering all the time. That's where all my money be going. So I had to do a little Instacart order because I was about to run out of coffee creamer. And I cannot do no coffee creamer in the coffee in the morning. It's not gonna work. So I needed coffee creamer, a couple other things. So if you hear my phone go off, that is the reason why I need to be, listening out. But the order's on the way, so we should be good. Anyway, let's get into the review. So anyway, we start off where we left off with Ken about to bulldoze Marquez about his house. Now, I forgot to mention in last week's review that when Ken said, this might be your kids, these are your kids, but this is my family now. And he was like, he didn't care. Marquez gave $500 for the cheerleading and all that. And what? Like, I get what Ken was saying, but I feel like, I don't know if I mentioned it in the last review or not, so I'm going to mention it here. I feel like Ken should not have said that. That was a bit out of line because that's still that man's family. Even though he didn't ran off to Atlanta or wherever he didn't ran off to, you can't say, oh, now this is my family. Like, you took his family. Like, there's no boundaries. Like, Marquez doesn't have boundaries. Trisha ain't got no boundaries, and Ken has no boundaries. So the whole thing is a mess. But he went a bit. I get what he's trying to say, but he just went a bit too far in that regard. Anyway, the son ran downstairs, and he had to pull his daddy out the door. The son looked sick and tired of both of them. The son looked sick and tired of Trisha and Marquez, and he probably tired of Ken as well. Anyway, so that was that. Kimmie called Latisha to invite her to a girls' night. She want to get the ladies together. She said this is her annual effort to get the girls together. Not the men's as yet. And she, no one has hung out really after LA, aka the reunion. And she want to get the girls together. I need to scoot back, y'all. Sorry. Anyway, so she called Tisha. Okay, Tisha coming down to girls' night. Her and Maurice have a budget version date night in the backyard. No, they got a fire and lights. I mean, the backyard look nice. That's cute. It's cute. So she made hot tea. Maurice is looking for something stronger. You not beating them drinking allegations, are you? So anyway, she was asking him about his day. He said busy, of course. She said she wanted to stop by Jalen's house. She hadn't stopped by, just hang out. That's became her little buddy now and all that. She spoke with him about the family business, and he was hesitating because he don't know how Maurice is about to be. he feel like, is it gonna be just Maurice giving orders? He's not sure. He feel like it may be a dictatorship. He don't want to feel how he did growing up. So he basically felt like I don't know if this is the scene Kimmie said it or not. I think he did say it. Yeah. So they showed like a, what do you call that? Like a side scene we haven't seen before. And so where Kimmie was at Jalen's house and Jalen was like, he ain't trying to do the family business. He felt like Marcel was more of a father figure to him than Maurice was. Maurice was more like a mentor. And so I was like, damn, if Marcel barely father figure to his own kids, and if you feel like that says a lot. Like, Maurice, what were you doing or not doing? So Kimmie's telling Maurice this, and Maurice is in shock. And so Jalen basically feels like Maurice was harder on him than he was on little Maurice. I hate that monster name, so I'm trying not to use it anymore. So I will say Maurice Jr. or little Maurice. Okay. So anyway, and I can understand how Jalen could feel that way because, like he says later on in the episode, Maurice Jr. is your son. I'm not. So, not your biological son. So what's up? So anyway, sorry, y'all. This thing was looking crooked. So, Maurice, you can tell it hurts him, but he's trying like it didn't hurt him, and he's going to have a conversation with Jalen about it. Now I don't know what's his family business they're trying to start. They want little Maurice involved as well as Jalen, Kimmie, and Maurice. All right, we'll see. I don't know if it's going to involve the Scott 1.0 as well. I'm not 100% sure. So anyway, let's move on to the Fletchers. So the Fletchers are at home, and Miss Nell's talking about the classes I guess she has to take for her at her daycare. I'm assuming all the staff have to take them or something, and she has to take them very seriously because they're government-funded classes. And as many as they complete, I guess they get some kind of certifications, and they get these different gold stars for their business, and it's helping to grow their business. So I'd be interested to know more about that because I that didn't sound familiar to me. Not that I own a daycare, but I am in education, so I would be curious to learn more about what those stars or certifications represent. Right. Anyway, so she's telling Chris about that, and then she said she's having a cheat day on her little diet. Miss Nell lost her some weight. So she's eating her some wings. Okay. I haven't had Wingstop in so long, y'all. Because I'm trying to be on my fitness journey still. So and then like sometimes they just be like too greasy and make me feel gross. So I'm not really checking for them right now. Anyway, so she sat down and talked to Chris about Kimmie calling her to get together with the girls and how she couldn't really stay and hang out because she got the call that Lance was having a baby, so they had to fly back. And she felt like, Latisha was quiet in LA, and she feels like, Latisha is not being upfront with her stuff or something. Like, she's not sure. No, at that time, she didn't know if her and Latisha were cool. Let me back up. At that time, she didn't know if where her and Latisha had stood, because remember, Latisha and Miss Nell were getting into it last season, right? So she wanted to know where they stand. Because of Destiny, she knows that Destiny was upset about her inviting Sonny, aka Five Head, down to the Bachelorette. And Destiny was like, well, I got to see how our relationship is going to be moving forward. And Miss Nell's like, what you got to see or check on? And I feel like, Destiny, you need to get over that. Like, I understand you don't want Sonny all up in your face. This was a Scott and a scheme and a plot set up by the producers and Carlos King. And you're on this show. Like, girl, I'm sorry. Sonny was dead wrong. We're not taking that. We all nailed Sonny and Moses to the cross last season. Like, that was nasty, foul work. However, if Miss Nell wants to get to know this lady on her own accord and invite her to her bachelorette, like, it's not a lot you can do about that. And it's not worth being that mad about. Like, I feel like at this point, like, Destiny, can we move on? So, but like I said, I get both sides. Anyway, now Miss Nell said that she didn't know that Lance was having a baby till she got the call in LA, and then they had to come back because of the baby. I don't, and this is gonna come up later on in the dinner, and I don't know how much I believe Miss Nell about that, but we're gonna get to that. So Miss Nell's like, I'm gonna talk to the ladies, we're gonna see what's up. So let's get to the dinner. Okay, this dinner was very messy. It was very messy. So at the dinner, we have Tisha, Latisha, Kimmie, Miss Nell. Destiny was invited, but Kimmie says she's too busy on the TikTok street. So they go meet for dinner. Miss Nell's wearing a pink hat. Tisha's like, oh, girl, you look nice. You look nice. You know your cowgirl turn. Now, it was not cowgirl. Like, I could see the look Miss Nell was going for, but it wasn't a cowgirl look. Like, every hat is not a cowgirl hat. Y'all gonna wear them boots down to the ground. Child. Anyway, where them fans at? So, Miss Nell even had to say I had on regular boots, girl. So anyway, Kimmie said it was pleasant calling everyone to give him the invitation, and Miss Nell was like, "Hey, she's so excited." So Kimmie's like she wants to get to know Trisha and Miss Nell better because she doesn't know them on a deeper level. And I'm like, well, Miss Nell been on this show for some years now. Like Miss Nell been on here few years now. Like, how you not know her that well? But okay. So anyway, but I do appreciate them making this effort because there's no, and not that Mel was keeping the girls together because Trisha wasn't Mel's friend like that, but I guess Mel was the in between for Nell and the Scott girl, late sister. So yeah, it's good that they do try to form a bond for the sake of the show, moving forward. Like I said, I don't miss Mel on the show. I'm glad she's off. I'm glad she's, living her own success, her best life in her own regard. I wish her the best, but I'm glad she's off the show so that people don't feel they got to walk on eggshells and pick a side. They can't take a picture with coleslaw. They can't talk to coleslaw. I'm glad all that's gone. So anyway, so Trisha says she want to get to know the girls better as well. She feels like everyone's like basically more surface and not really, they only go so far with their business. So Trisha let everybody know what happened with the whole co-parenting thing with Marquez and Ken was going well until they had a big blow up at the house, and Marquez was, walking all up into the house without ringing the doorbell or knocking, all uninvited. How, he was causing chaos and confusion down to the house with Ken and him were about to get into it. So they were like, oh my gosh, that is crazy. Like, she feels like they take a step forward, 2 steps back, like it's too much. Okay, girl, thank you for the update. Kimmie says she don't got chaos and confusion in her house like that, but she did share what Jalen shared about Maurice being harder on him than he was on little Maurice, and he felt like Marcel was more of a father figure. And so Latisha shared that, well, Jalen did work with Marcel at Monaco and at Black. And later on, we found out that Jalen worked with Marcel at Skull. So I was like, okay, when Marcel worked at Monaco, that was way before the show, the way they've, talked about it. So that was like been some years ago, right? So, and then the whole Sculpt thing, like that was some years ago as well. So, yeah, I could see how Jalen would have more of a father-son relationship with Marcel than Maurice if he's worked with him for that many years and that kind of closeness. So that kind of makes sense to me. But it's just sad, like Maurice, what were you doing in the house? Absolutely nothing, right? Because Maurice barely took care of little Maurice. He let Kimmie do it all. So like, this is not even a surprise. Like, come on. So anyway, now I didn't like what Tisha said in the confessional about, for all these years, it's been Kimmie and Jalen, just the two of them, and they show pictures. It was just cool to see of them too, over the years when Jalen was younger. And she said, then, Maurice is in the house, and she basically was trying to say that Jalen should have felt comfortable going to Maurice now that Maurice was in the picture as he did Kimmie. But you can't tell a kid that. Like, so I didn't like what teacher said that. I was like, you can't tell a kid how comfortable to feel. Like, I don't know how Jalen was when Kimmie got with Maurice. I don't think he wasn't no little boy. Because didn't Kimmie and Maurice got married on the show like the first season, didn't they? He wasn't a little boy because we saw him graduate on this show. from high school. So he had to be at least 13. So you, like I said, you can't tell a kid like, oh, now all of a sudden you need to talk to this other adult who hasn't been in your life. Like, no, that's not fair. So anyway, so they kind of moved on from that conversation. And so then I think at this point, Miss Nell starts talking about um what was Lance having the baby and how she had to leave LA because Lance had the baby. And so now Tisha started grilling her like, so you didn't know Lance's the girl was pregnant with Lance's baby. And so Miss Nell was like, no, I didn't know. And Trish was like, yeah, and didn't little Chris have a baby? And she was like, yeah, well, they like a month apart. So Miss Nell said that Chris's baby and Lance's baby are like 5 months apart. Them boys is busy. So excuse me. Y'all, my air kicked back on. It's 90 something degrees here in Cali. So we need the air, but I will try to make sure I project over the air conditioner. Anywho, yeah, so Ms. Nell claimed that she didn't know that Lance was having a baby till she got the call or she was down in LA for the reunion, right? And so Tisha kind of kept like asking her the same question over and over, but in different ways, which I hate when people do that. There's a lady at my job that does that, will keep asking you the same thing over and over till they get the answer that they wanted. And this lady lacks total self-awareness. So I don't like when people do that. Ms. Nell didn't like either. She was like, I came to this dinner trying to be pleasant, and Tisha over here being Latisha Scott Esquire asking me 1,001 questions. Because Tisha was like, yeah, because I thought it was going to be pretty messed up. Like if you, was okay with Destiny dating Lance, but then you knew he had this baby or he was dealing with this other person. So Ms. Nell says she didn't know all that, that she found out in LA. Okay. And that I guess Lance and this girl has been fooling around together off and on for like the last 5 years or something. Now, when I rewatched the episode, I'm like, and somebody else said it on Twitter last night, that they don't believe that Miss Nell didn't know that baby was on the way. I don't believe that either. I feel like her family is pretty close and that Lance would have told her that. I don't know. Now, unless Lance didn't know and Lance found out last minute, and that's how Miss Nell found out last minute. However, how big is Huntsville? Like Huntsville is not that big, is it? My Huntsville people, if y'all watch my show, excuse me, let me let me know in the comments. Is Huntsville that big? I feel like Miss Nell would have known this girl was pregnant. And I feel like if Lance knew, she knew. That's what I feel like. But maybe Lance didn't know. I don't know. But I don't know. I didn't feel like Miss Nell was being 100% honest in that moment. But who knows? Anyway, so Miss Nell didn't like that. She was like, I'm going to turn it back on you. So Miss Nell said, so, how did you guys feel when, Martell did that little video where he tried to expose Marcel with the mistress and all that? And so how did you feel about it? So Latisha said, well, how did you feel about it? I said, not you answer the question with a question, Latisha. Who cares how Miss Nell felt? So even Miss Nell said in the confessional, like, she feels like Tisha is deflecting at this point. Like, why are you asking me how I feel? Like, I'm not married to Marcel. Okay. So Kimmie says she didn't like it. She feels like, even if, first of all, it wasn't believable. And even if it was believable, like, you gonna get a person like that, like, obviously that's not it. Like, no, try again. And that's how pretty much everyone felt about it. I don't think it was that many people who took that seriously. Right. So Trisha was laughing and saying, like, well, Martell did that because Tisha got on Carlos King's podcast, YouTube show, and said what she said. She said she was cracking up about that. So that's why Martell did what he did. And so, it's always Carlos King's fault. So Tisha said, like, her and Martell did a live about it, and they expressed how they felt about it there. So if you want to know how she felt, go watch the live. Okay, and so she said her confessional, like, basically Tisha's thing was she not gonna give, that was not worth giving life to, so she not gonna give it life in this moment. So if you want to know how she felt, go watch the YouTube video. And so Ms. Nell felt like she wasn't being honest and she was dodging the question and all that. I actually was not mad how Tisha answered that. And I don't feel like she was deflecting because she already answered it with Marceau and their live. And I think I've seen bits and pieces of their live. I didn't watch it. I did watch that cringy thing where Martell and Ariane tried to interview Marcel's alleged mistress that was not giving anything at all. I saw parts of or I might have seen the whole thing with Tisha on Carlos King's show. I think I've seen the whole thing of that. But anyway, and we all know how this all started last season at that stupid field day. So anyway, I'm not mad at Tisha not wanting to give more life to that because it's not worth giving anything to. So I'm not mad at that. So then somehow they was talking about, different stuff going on. And Tisha said, if somebody have a problem with anyone, they need to just say it up front and we need to deal with it. And so Ms. Nell is like, you know what? I don't have a problem with anyone. If I had a problem with you, I'm going to let you know, girl. So somehow they got on topic of what Chris Fletcher said about the NDAs. And Kimmie said Maurice felt the way. And he especially felt that way because it's been publicized, the infidelity that's been in the Fletcher's marriage, and he's never brought that up and joked around about it. So he wasn't sure why Chris was coming for him and his. So I was cracking up. I was like, not Kimmie exposing their tea like that. Even though we already knew, but it's just funny. Like, girl, why you got to bring their tea up? So Ms. Nell's like, okay, that's my husband. That's my significant other. I don't know why he said all that, girl. I'll talk to him, but I got to stick beside my man, but we're going to see. So Trisha's having a cowgirl themed birthday party. So everybody going to get together at the party next week and we're going to see them, how she done getting to it. The previews look good though. The previews did look good. I'm like, this stupid show. I want to stop watching this stupid show so bad. I want to stop watching this stupid show. But anyway, but it was interesting. So moving along, at the same time they're having a dinner, we see I had a burp, y'all. Sorry. We see Jalen across town with Maurice. So Maurice comes to meet with Jalen to play pool, shoot some pool, and talk about basically what Kimmie told him. And so first I got to shooting the breeze. I guess Jalen was in the IT. He was like an IT guy too. And that don't mean no disrespect at all. He's a handsome guy. So he might get a job in Colorado and move there to do, more IT. Oh, I think cybersecurity actually. And so he also has some kind of, I think he has like an investment property or something too. So he's doing well for himself. And so, excuse me. Okay, now the burp came out. Y'all don't even know. Y'all know I don't even like burping on camera. I did not like doing that. But, such is life. So Maurice is like, why you want to move down to Colorado? So he's like, I've been here my whole life with me and my mom. Like, I'm trying to figure out if that's the next step for me. Try to create a new path, basically. He's young, child, good for you, Jade. And I'm like, let me figure out where I can move to. So Maurice is like, well, you think that's a good idea? So he's basically like, I'm trying to figure out what is a good idea for me. So basically he's just trying to figure out his own life, make his own path. We can't be mad at that. He's doing well for himself, like good for him. So, and I didn't want Maurice trying to talk him out of moving. If he want to leave Huntsville, good for him. Okay. See what else is out there. Got to go see what else is out there. So he brought up the conversation with Kimmie, and Jalen was basically like, okay, I appreciate you teaching me how to change out the dishwasher and fix a toilet and fix a tire, whatever, do all the things around the house. But if something, needed to get done, you would call me to come do it, and you wouldn't call your own son. And we both are sitting there playing the same video game. He's talking about, when they were in the house together. And so now Maurice go get his confessional and say that, you parent each kid differently and you hope it turns out well. And I feel like it turned out for the best. And I'm like, really? From this conversation, that's how you felt? Now, he's only saying that because Jalen did turn out well. He went to college, he graduated. He's doing well for himself. He's working. He has properties and all that. And he is successful. But that is not to your own credit, Maurice. And I didn't like that he said that. That's not to your credit. That's to his mama's credit. Okay? and the other people like Marceau and whoever else poured around him. Now I don't know if his real dad is in the picture or not. I'm not sure, but it wasn't to your credit, Maurice. Sorry. And that's what we're trying to get in your head, and you're not understanding, sir. So he was like, yeah, I felt like you were harder on me than you were Maurice Jr. when it comes to family business. Like, are we going to be all hands in, or is it going to be more like a dictatorship? And they showed, I don't know if it's a scene coming up or a side scene that they showed. I think it's both where he's saying that. So he don't want to be in the family business if it's going to be Maurice just giving everyone orders, and he feels like, oh, am I gonna have to go, be driving little Maurice here and doing all this stuff, little Maurice, and you giving me orders, like, then that's not the family business he want to be in. And I don't blame him. That's how I feel at my big 37-year-old age. You not about to be dictating nothing to me, okay? Because I'm grown now. You're not. You're not, okay? You put up with that when you live in the house. Like, I lived in the house with my granny and my aunt up until my granny passed away in 2019. Like, yeah, I had to take a lot of orders and things from my granny. Okay. So once, love my granny, God rest her soul. But once that was, over, like, I'm not going back to that life. I'm not doing it. So I understand what Jalen is talking about. So he was like, so I guess Maurice asked him, did you feel like I loved you more than Maurice Jr.? And he was like, well, yeah, that's your son. And so he's like, well, you're not my son. He's like, well, yeah, I am. But like, of course you're going to treat your real son better is what he's basically saying. And so he's like, I felt like Marceau was more like a father figure to me. And I felt like you were just like more like a mentor, older mentor. And I was like, oh, ouch. I was like, ouch. And so Maurice feels like this conversation went well. And I'm like, what conversation were you in, sir? I don't feel like Maurice got it, right? So Marcel is saying he wants to. Now I don't know if they were at Tisha Marcel's house or Kimmie and Maurice's house for this conversation. They might have been at Tisha Marcel's house. Anyway, Marcel wants to have a conversation with Maurice and let him know, like, Jalen came and spoke to him. That was the side scene we saw where Jalen was telling Marcel, like, I feel like you're more of a father figure to me than Maurice. And he doesn't want to be in a dictatorship in his family business. So he was saying, so Marcel, well, first they all sat down, at the table, all Scots, Scott 1.0, 2.0. And y'all, this video getting long. Let me wrap it up. So they sat down at the table, and Latisha shared that little Maurice he got his National Honor Society paper. So good for him. I remember all that kind of stuff. And he wants to add it to his application or resume or whatever for going to Michigan. She's like added to all the applications. Okay. So, Kimmie is just so proud of her nephew. And somehow they got on the topic of the DEI stuff and how that's holding up, I guess, the college admission process for Michigan. And the admissions processes for many universities are getting affected really badly right now because of this current climate we're in and all that stuff. I don't want to get all political up on this channel because that's not what it's about over here. But yeah, a lot of fear tactics, a lot of craziness going on. So anyway, so Marcel said that's why they started the comeback group in the first place to, help people when the government and whoever is not trying to help them. I'm like, but where's the comeback group? What are they doing now? But okay. But, I'm glad we got that message. So anyway, Marcel brings up the conversation with Maurice and how Jalen feels like, he's more of a father figure to him than Maurice is. And so Maurice is like saying, well, he feels like, so Maurice is trying to say, oh, he feels like you're more of his dad than I am. And so Marcel was like, well, he didn't say dad, he said father figure. Maurice is like, it's the same thing. Now, let's not split hairs, father figure, dad. Yeah, it's the same thing. So Marcel is trying to explain to him, like, Jalen is basically feeling like you're harder on him than you were on Maurice Jr. Because they got into the whole discussion of the family business thing. And he's like, who's in this family business? That's what Marcel asked Maurice. And so he's like, me, Kimmie, Maurice Jr., hopefully Jalen. And so Marcel was like, yeah, he came to talk to me. And then he's like, oh, he can't ask you for help. And he's like, well, no, like, you know, he was asking me about some contractors and different things for his properties and all that. And he knows I know these people. And so, yeah, that's why he came to talk to me. And so he's like, well, you know, like he used to work with me at school, so he knows like who I know and all that. And so then Marcel was like, you don't see basically this is when Marcel's trying to get Maurice to see like what Jalen is trying to say. And he said that's the problem, like this family business, that's the issue. And then so Maurice was like, well, what is the issue? And so he's like, growing up, I experienced the Golden Child 1.0 and Jalen experiencing Golden Child 2.0 and little Maurice. And so Maurice is like, what? Like, what are you saying? And then he talks about something, and they showed a picture of the Maurice and Marcel when they were younger. And he's like, you know, growing up, the older siblings were like next in line, and they kind of parented the younger siblings when the parents aren't around. And so that's the same mentality he is having. And I'm like, no, sir, it's not the mentality you're having. So Kimmie even said, yeah, me and Maurice have had these conversations many times, and I even felt like he was harder on Jalen than he was little Maurice. And I used to say to him, okay, now when little Maurice comes, are you going to be hard on him the same way you are on Jalen? And then that just blew my mind. I'm sitting there looking at Kimmie side eye. So you felt this man that you married and was living in the house with you and your son, you felt like he was too hard on your son, and you sat back? I mean, I know she said they had lots of conversations about it, but like you stayed with him, you allowed him to be hard on your son. Like, what did you do, Kimmie? Did you intervene? Like, I need to know, because you're the mom. Like, I'm not gonna sit back and let somebody, I don't care if I'm sleeping with them or not, like be hard on my son. Like, I get it, you're trying to, you know, give him the male influence, but Maurice didn't even do nothing. So I didn't like that, Kimmie. Like, you shouldn't have said that, girl, because I didn't like it. So that's basically Marcel's point, is like, okay, once Maurice Jr. came, you weren't the same hard on him as you are being on Jalen. So then Maurice is like, oh, you sound like Chris Fletcher, you're lying, you're a liar. So they start getting into it, and it was a to be continued, right? So we're gonna see. I thought it was very heated. It got heated, you know, it got interesting. First of all, Marcel barely a father figure to his kids, like I said. So if Jalen felt like Marcel was a father figure, that's a lie. And I think Tisha had made a joke saying that Marcel considered Jalen his oldest son. That's crazy. Then Kimmie said the reason why also Jalen felt this way is because anytime Maurice would say anything to him, it'd be like when he would be coming down on him about something he did wrong. So, and Maurice's thing is, oh, okay, I'm not going to intervene as a parent until I need to step in. So then, yeah, when I step in, of course, you're going to always feel like I'm coming down on you. But that's the thing, Maurice. Like, you can't just only talk to him or father him when he's doing wrong. You also got to support him when he's doing good and feed into him. Like, and then even with Maurice Jr., like we see Kimmie helping him with his college applications. We see Kimmie has been complaining. Wasn't Kimmie complaining? I don't know if it was last season or 2 or 3 seasons ago about Maurice not making sure that Maurice Jr. does all these things in the house, and she's always having to get on him to do chores and take care of things. And then Maurice kind of tried to get him on a schedule. Yeah, because then Kimmie had to be the hard parent on Maurice Jr., and Maurice was being a hard parent on a kid that was not his kid. No, that's twisted. That's crazy. But we're going to see. The conversation looks like it's going to continue more next week. So y'all let me know what y'all thought about that in the comments. I thought that was very interesting, and probably a lot of families go through that. So I thought the whole Jalen and Maurice dynamic was the most interesting part of this episode, as well as the girls' dinner. Y'all let me know what y'all thought of the episode. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And I'll talk to y'all again very soon. Bye.